Hi everyone, Emily Mercado here, owner of Loves to Travel the World Travel Agency. Today we're going to visit Modena, Italy, home to world famous cars, um, a famous opera singer, and probably some of the best food that you'll find anywhere in the world. So let's go. Short introduction to Modena. This particular city offers visitors a lot of diverse activities, a lot of things to see and do. The city is a vibrant, largely untouched city, which is pretty much far outside what your typical guidebooks offer. As I said, Modena is home to some of the world's most prestigious luxury supercars of Ferrari and Maserati fame, and also balsamic vinegar, Parmesan cheese, and other magnificent foods, which we will cover all in great detail. Modena is located in northern Italy, just south of the Po River, very close to the Apennine Mountains, and it can be found along the old Roman road, the Via Emilia. Modena was the capital of the Duchy of Modena until 1868 and was ruled by the Estensi family. You can come to Modena pretty much at any time of the year, but it is at its best in summer and winter. And here's a larger area map of the region. France is up here to the west. Switzerland is up to the north. Austria, Slovenia, Croatia is across the Mediterranean Sea. And here's Italy right here. You see Turin, Milano, Genova, Pisa, Livorno, Firenze or Florence. Bologna is here. Venezia is here. Padua is here. And Modena is right here, between Parma and Bologna. Here's a closer look at the area immediately around Modena is right here. Reggio Emilia is right here. And Bologna is down here. Okay. In terms of the downtown Modena, ancient city walls used to surround the downtown area, but unfortunately these walls no longer exist. Today, the old perimeter is still known as the boundaries of the downtown area. In Italian, it's called the Centro Storico, the historical center of Modena. It is a very pleasant area to walk through, very, very walkable, very easy to get around. And here's a map of the downtown area. The train station is up kind of to the north of the city. And you can see that the roads do form still somewhat of a ring around the center. So we're going to start with the best museums to see in Modena. We've got a little bit of everything, a little bit of something for everyone. First to start, we're going to actually start at the Pavarotti Villa, which actually was Luciano Pavarotti's home, which he purchased in the mid-1980s, and it was his home until his death. The Pavarotti Foundation transformed this villa into a museum where you can take a walking tour throughout the home, and you can see a number of personal items that he cherished, like photographs, letters, stage outfits, and many, many of his awards that he won throughout his career. You can go visit this museum daily between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. and tickets are €10. And here's a photograph of the outside of the Casa Museo Luciano Pavarotti, the Luciano Pavarotti Home and Museum. Next up on the list is the Enzo Ferrari Museum in Modena. It features an unusual structure that, in my opinion, resembles a UFO. This particular structure actually surrounds the villa that Enzo Ferrari grew up in when he was a child. It features an array of some of the most elegant cars in the Ferrari car history. You can visit Enzo's father's workshop, which displays 5 types of old Ferraris, and there are also 5 sections of the museum in general. An area that features small engines, and another area that features the traditional 12-cylinder engines, 8-cylinder engines, turbos, and lastly the Formula One engines of Formula One race car fame. If you are a Ferrari enthusiast, or even if you're a car enthusiast in general, this is definitely a place that you should visit. Opening hours from November to March are from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. and April to October, 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. Admission is €16 for students and €14 for seniors. And here's just a photograph of the inside of the hangar that looks kind of like an airplane hangar a little bit, in my opinion. There's also a Ferrari museum in Maranello, which is located in the province of Modena. In this particular museum welcomes visitors to the exhibit called The World of Ferrari, Past, Present, and Future. So in 2020, the Scuderia Ferrari is this particular racing team turns 91 this year. It's the most dominant Formula One racing team. So the Hypercars exhibit is dedicated to the landmark Ferraris, is on display here at the Maranello Museum. The opening hours are November through March from 9:30 a.m. to 6 p.m., April to October, 9:30 a.m. to 7 p.m., and admission for students is €17 and seniors is €15. And here's just a picture of the outside of the museum. Another must-see for car enthusiasts in particular is the Maserati factory, located in downtown. It's another world-famous brand. The old factory is located just on the outskirts of the downtown area. Like the Ferrari Museum, it is possible to book a tour on the company website. And here's a photograph of the outside of the Maserati Museum. If cars really aren't your thing, you can visit the historical rooms at the Communal Palace, which is located in City Hall, in the main square overlooking the Duomo. It is open to the public and there is no entry fee. Actually, City Hall, if you're going to spend any kind of time here, City Hall is the perfect place to start your visit, and because it is located within City Hall, it's actually a good place for you to start. It's open to visitors as well. The Camerino dei Conformati, which is home to one of the city's most iconic symbols, the Secchia Rapita, which is the stolen bucket. It looks like a standard wooden bucket, but it actually reminds the people of Modena of their victory against the Bolognese in 1325 in the Battle of Zappolino. The door on the right side of the Camerino leads to the Sala del Fuoco, the fire room, so called because of its exquisite large fireplace, and legend has it that the embers that were in this particular fireplace were used to heat the merchants who sell goods in the square. And there's exquisite paintings, frescoes, and beautiful woodwork. The central square displays the municipal coat of arms, and also Roman-inspired motifs run around the walls. And this is an example of one of the rooms, one of the communal rooms in City Hall. You notice the woodwork, the wall coverings, and the beautiful artwork hanging on the walls. So the Pavarotti Municipal Theater is a theater that was named for Luciano Pavarotti, which was initially opened in 1841. But in recognition of the late world-famous tenor, the city of Modena renamed it to the Luciano Pavarotti Municipal Theater after his death. He did perform at this theater numerous times throughout his career, and it's important to note that the inside of the theater retains its old world charm, and it's just a gorgeous interior to see. For example, the theater features 116 boxes on 4 levels. The largest is the ducal box, found right in the center. Kind of, think of it like a royal, almost like a royal box. The 5th level is the Logione level, the Logione level, and some say that this particular level has the best acoustics in the whole theater. Unfortunately, the theater is not open for tours or visits, but you are able to take in a performance there if you happen to be in Modena when there's a performance taking place. And here's an example of the interior. You can clearly see the levels, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the 5th level is the Logione level here, and right here is the ducal box on the second level, right in the middle. And you can see there's ornate artwork on the ceiling and on the front of each of the balconies as well. And as you can see, it's very richly decorated, very lush in vibrant colors, and it's definitely worth it to take in a performance here. In the city center, there's the Duke's Palace, located in Modena. It was one of the most prominent palaces of the 1600s. Construction began in 1634 on the location of the old Este Castle. Today, the palace is the current home to the Military Academy, the Academy's Historical Museum, and a precious library, which is available for viewing on request to the Military Academy. In 1858, when the Duke left the city, the Italian government converted the palace into the Military Academy. It's unfortunate to note that many of the rooms were severely remodeled, taking away from their original look. But fortunately, the most prestigious studio, the Duke's office, featuring gold-plated wooden panels, was preserved. So this is an exterior shot of the Military Academy. Something that's actually outside Modena, but is worth the visit, is the Duke's Summer Palace in Sassuolo. It's about 16 kilometers south of Modena, it's the best preserved of the Estensi palaces to see in Modena, in the region of Modena. It was originally constructed in 1458 and was initially known as the Rocca Castle. In 1609, it was passed to the Este family and converted into a palace for use as a summer residence. The architect in charge of the building, Bartolomeo Avanzini, worked with the famous Roman architect Gian Lorenzo Bernini. And several of the rooms inside were restored with grand works of art. Few people ever get to visit this palace, but it still remains a relevant segment of the Estensi galleries of Modena. You can also admire room frescoes painted by Jean Boulanger. And you can, if you want to pause the video at this point to write down this website, you can find hours and admission fees here, along with more information about the Duke's Summer Palace in Sassuolo. And here's an exterior shot of the palace. Palazzo dei Musei is a massive palace, originally built by Duke Francis III as a shelter for the poor. After Italy's unification, the palace was converted into museums. Italy, as we know it today, originally was a whole bunch of different duchies and provinces before it was unified into the Italy that we know today. The Duke's massive library and painting gallery moved here from the Duke's Palace and is open to the general public. Here's just an interior shot of the palace and some of the things that are housed here. The Estensi Gallery paintings are located on the top floor of the and the Palazzo dei Musei is the home to the Estensi Gallery. It's only a small fraction of the works are on exhibit because there's not enough space in the current area for the entire collection. There's an extensive collection of paintings, drawings, and objects, and there's also a bust of Francis I by Bernini, the portrait of the Duke of Velasquez, the triptych of El Greco, and paintings by many, many famous painters. The gallery is open Tuesday through Saturday from 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The nice thing is that admission is only €5. And here's an kind of a fuzzy shot, but still a shot of the interior of the gallery. The Estensi Library, if you're a bibliophile like me, you'll find this very interesting. It was initially created by the Lords of Ferrara at the end of the 14th century. It remained linked to the Este family until 1860, and in 1882, the contents were moved from the palace to its current location in the Palazzo dei Musei. As of 2016, it's now part of the new Gallery Estensi Institute. Some of the most precious books you might see include the Monumento della Miniatura Estense, the Bible of Borso, the Genealogy of the Princess of Este, a Missal of Borso, the Breviary of Hercules, and various correspondences between Muratori and Tirabaschi. The Biblioteca Estense Universitaria has a single exhibition hall, the Sale Campori, which houses a lot of temporary exhibitions. And again, if you want to pause the video to write down this website, you can get the opening hours here. And this is a picture of the Borso Bible, which I think is pretty interesting, to me anyway. So we've covered a lot of museums and things that actually cost to get in, but there are a number of free things to see and do in Modena. You can go into the Modena Cathedral, which is also called the Duomo, which sits on the original site of two churches that date back to the 5th century. Upon the discovery that Saint Gemininus, Modena's patron saint, was buried on the site, the two churches were destroyed to build a grander cathedral. Construction started in 1099 and was started by the architect Lanfranco, and the remains of Saint Gemininus remain on display in the cathedral's crypt, which is among the world's best preserved romantic style cathedral in the world. And you can see his sarcophagus as well. According to legend, in 490 A.D., Attila the Hun was about to invade Modena, and the people of the city prayed to the saint to stop the invasion. On the 31st of January, the bishop opened the sarcophagus, and locals came to pray beside the saint's skeleton, who was still dressed in the bishop's robe. And here's a picture. The skeleton and the robes. So inside the Duomo, you'll see there are 3 naves, and connecting the central nave and the crypt is a marble parapet by Anselmo de Campione, portraying the Passion of Christ, including the Last Supper. The pulpit is decorated with little terracotta figures, and the wooden crucifix dates from the 1300s. The iconic Ghirlandina bell tower can be seen for kilometers, which is attached to the church. In 1997, UNESCO declared the Duomo a World Heritage Site, which I think is pretty interesting. Luciano Pavarotti had his funeral held in the cathedral as well, which I think is pretty interesting. And here's the Duomo with the Ghirlandina bell tower. Another interesting church that you can see is the Church of Sant'Agostino. The Augustinian hermits founded this church in the 14th century. Refurbishment was completed in 1663. The architect on this project was Gian Giacomo Monti, and it became the main venue for the Este family funerals. Francesco I of Este became the first duke to be commemorated in the church. When the duke passed, there was elegant yet temporary decorations that transformed the church during the funeral. In the case of Alfonso IV, these decorations became permanent, which is a unique event in the history of European funerary art. The artwork that is displayed is a remarkable series of monarchs, or kings, empresses, kings, queens, saints, holy men, bishops, as well as popes. Now, there was an earthquake that happened in Modena in 2012, and in 2018, the church actually reopened following extensive repairs. Inside, there are masterpieces, including the 16th century terracotta Lamentation by Antonio Begarelli, and a fragment of the 14th century fresco of a Madonna and Child, which is attributed to Tommaso de Modena. You can come to the church Monday through Friday between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m., and on Saturdays and Sundays between 9 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. As with any church or house of worship, please be mindful of any masses or services that might be happening. But there should be people there that will direct you if there are services that are happening. Here's a shot of the interior of this particular church. The Anatomical Theater in Modena is another interesting place for you to visit. Antonio Scarpa built the theater between December 1773 and January 1775. Now, for a little bit of historical placement, the United States declared its independence from England, from Great Britain, in 1776. So it's this is built right around the time when the U.S. was getting ready to declare its independence. It was inaugurated on January 25th, 1775. The Università degli Studi paid for the building, and the Opera Pia Generale dei Poveri provided the infrastructure for this particular building. Lorenzo Toschi handled the design and oversaw its development. And it's interesting to note that the Anatomy Theater in Padua, has a very similar looking building. It featured a full elliptical amphitheater, although lower and broader than the one in Padua. You can come visit on Fridays between 3 and 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. There is no entrance fee. And here's the interior of the amphitheater. You can also visit the historic pharmacy, which is initially known as the Spezzeria. It's created in the second half of the 18th century after Duke Francesco II d'Este built the Great Hospital for the Sick. In 1764, the Duke invited the opera to build the pharmacy, which is part of a wider urban rebuilding and improvement program. The main room features beautiful ceiling frescoes, which were painted in 1851, and the eclectic style of the 19th century is clearly visible within the frescoes. Examples include featured ovals, hemispheres, flowers, and vases to flowers and profiles of scientists. And it was restored in 2010. Well, the most recent restoration was 2010. where the fresco's original colors of blue and gold leaf are once again clearly visible. The restored and historic maple shelving also housed at one time numerous pharmaceutical volumes, and also more than 100 majolica containers and bronze and marble mortars. The massive paintings, however, have been removed for practicality purposes, I would imagine. You can visit on Fridays between 3 and 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays and Sundays from 10 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. Again, there's no entrance fee. And you can see the restoration here. You can clearly see the bookshelves and the blue painting and the gold leaf on the ceiling. So now, after talking about all of these different sites that you can see in Modena, I would imagine that we would work up a pretty big appetite. So some typical foods of Modena, which I touched on at the very beginning of this presentation. Modena, it should be noted that Modena has a very incredibly rich and vibrant food tradition. Some say that the entire Emilia-Romagna region is probably the best in Italy for food. I respectfully disagree. My mother's family is from southern Italy, so in my opinion, southern Italian food is best. But, this region definitely gives it a run for its money. Modena is world famous for its balsamic vinegar, but there are definitely other specialties that are worth a taste. The city is chock full of traditional restaurants and more modern contemporary ones as well. If you do happen to be visiting Modena, here are some culinary tips. Definitely make it a point to stop at the Albinelli Market in downtown Modena, which is actually the center of Modena's world-famous culinary tradition. The market is open Monday through Friday from 6:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 6:30 a.m. until 7 o'clock p.m. You can buy Parmigiano Reggiano cheese, balsamic vinegar, Amorati di Modena, which are soft, chewy almond cookies, and many other specialties. At lunchtime, it's worth it to know that many vendors have tables that are dedicated to serving lunch. On Fridays and Saturdays, the market is also open for dinner, which I think is a nice thing to try. And here's a photograph of the inside. You can see fruits and vegetables here, and here. And it's very reminiscent of kind of like a farmer's market. If you're in America, this area reminds me very much of a farmer's market. So another place that you can visit is the historic Giusti store. As the oldest deli in Europe and possibly the world. Interestingly, you would never see it unless you knew it was there, because it's along an old road in downtown Modena. Opened in 1695, and it is, as of Halloween 2020, it is still in operation. This particular stop sells some of the best typical products of Modena, and it's a good place to try some local specialties that you can take home with you. And here's a shot of the outside, the exterior of the store. Gnocco fritto, fried gnocchi. It's a specialty of Modena. It's a light, fluffy, and pillowy deep-fried dough which used to be traditionally a breakfast item. Now, people eat gnocco fritto for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Kind of like a fried dough, similar to fried dough. It's best eaten fresh from the fire, accompanied by various salumi, cured meats, such as prosciutto, mortadella, and salami. Many coffee shops also serve gnocco fritto daily from early morning until about lunchtime. At dinner, you can have it as an appetizer in one of the many restaurants in the area. And this is what gnocco fritto looks like here. And you can see prosciutto, mortadella, and a sauce in various salumi meats. Tortellini in panna, which is another regional specialty. Tortellini are super small, typically stuffed pasta of Modena, usually served with broth. And today, it can also be served in a thick and rich creamy sauce, also known as panna. It's a must try. It's definitely a must try when visiting the area. And this is what a typical tortellini in panna dish looks like. Delicious. Lambrusco types to try. Interestingly enough, this is Modena's typical wine, is Lambrusco, which is a sparkling red wine, which pairs nicely with the rich foods of the area. There are two main kinds of Lambrusco. It's important to note that. One is Lambrusco de Sorabara, which is produced north of the city. It's lighter in color, almost a rosé, which can be tangy and a bit dry. So if you favor more dry wines, then this is a really, really good wine for you to have. The other kind of Lambrusco is Lambrusco Grasparasa or Castelvetro. This particular varietal is produced south of the city toward the mountains. It's much darker in color, and it has a very subtle but sweet taste. So if you favor more sweet wines, then this is definitely a very good varietal for you to have. And of course, Parmesan cheese. You couldn't go to this region without trying a little bit. The province of Modena is one of the areas where they make authentic Parmigiano Reggiano cheese. You actually can visit a cheese factory and learn all about how this cheese is made and aged. And at markets such as the Albanelli market, several cheese vendors will be happy to help you try the many different varieties of Parmesan. And here's a photograph of wheels of Parmesan cheese being aged. So something else that you can try is the traditional nocino of Modena. It's made from walnuts picked in Modena during late June. The walnuts are cut and then they're let to macerate in alcohol and spices. Historically, this was used as a medicinal remedy for indigestion and stomach problems. But today, it's served after a meal as a digestive. Many local restaurants each offer their own homemade nocino production for their customers' enjoyment. And it's definitely a great souvenir to take home. And here's a bottles as an example of what this particular aperitif looks like. And of course, balsamic vinegar. I would be remiss if I didn't mention balsamic vinegar, as considered the king of condiments. This traditional vinegar is actually world famous, and it's the most coveted versions of this black gold are aged between 12 and 25 years. Depending on your budget, you can find both younger and older versions. And there are many producers around Modena that you can go visit, the factories, and you can learn how balsamic vinegar is made. It's very famous and influential. There are also a number of castles that you can see while you're in Modena. For example, the Castle of Vignola. It's in the town of Vignola, about 16 kilometers southeast of Modena. And this fortress is perfectly preserved and is open to the public. Opening hours, you can go Tuesday through Sunday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. and again from 3:30 to 6. There is no admission fee, which is good. And this particular castle dates back from as far back as 936 AD. The castle that you can visit today remains untouched from the time it was built in the 13th century. Some of the towers were used as jails, and as a result, you can still admire some of the graffiti left by the prisoners once held captive there. And this is an example you can see here to the left of one of the towers of the jail. The castle of Levizzano Rangoni. This particular castle is located in the small town of Levizzano, just a few kilometers from Vignola. It's an example of another critical yet ancient fortress that actually dates back to 1038 AD. Unfortunately, it's currently closed to the general public, but if you go to the town, you can see it. You can see where it is, and you can see that it overlooks the town, and it overlooks a number of vineyards as well. This Castle Vetro, surrounded by vines in the hills south of Modena. You can walk through the lovely cobblestone streets of Castelvetro, and you're just brought back in time to when Castelvetro was inhabited. As you can see, it's rolling hills, the church, the castle, vineyards are here at in the foothills. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous location. You can also visit the historic castle in Formigine. Wow, excuse me. That's what I get for trying to read without my glasses. This little town has another remarkable castle in its central square. The original dates back to the 13th century, believe it or not. In 1945, during World War II, this area was subject to a good deal of aerial bombings. So as a result, some of the unique structures were damaged. But right after World War II, the town council bought the castle and proceeded to restore it to its former glory, which I think is wonderful. Today, visitors can explore the castle, and the city hall also uses part of the castle as its home. You can click right down this website, and you can find out their opening hours and admission prices. And here's a picture. Thank you so much for watching. We have reached the end of our trip to Modena. I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed what you saw. If this is something that you are interested in going to see, you can contact me through email, on my website, and also through Facebook, Instagram, Yelp, and YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have a good day, and I hope to see you traveling around the world. Thank you so much and have a good day.